drawing with white charcoal on black paper. A few things, that this is nicer drawing black paper, so it's not just construction paper. You're going to want to divide it in half, so about 6 inches. You can also just fold it in half if you want, like that. It might be easier to have the whole page, and then you'll attach it into your sketchbook. You're also going to do a value scale on this page or on the separate half if that's easier for you. So I'm going to set up my cup just in the same way I did before. And just like before, I'm going to start by sighting. So I am using that pencil to find that center line. I'm also going to be sighting this angle and this angle. And then also using sighting, remember, with my arm straight, with my elbow straight, comparing this measurement to the length. So it's about 1, maybe, and 3/4. This measurement is about maybe a little less than 2 there, so also maybe about 1 3/4. So I'm going to start sighting those. All right, and I want to, just like before, keep it at least life size, or a little bit bigger. Now, you could also start laying these things out with a regular pencil if you want to. The white charcoal does erase pretty easily, as long as you're staying light. So I'm going to sight that angle, then I'm going to sight those. All right. And then I'm going to make a decision about how big this end is, So let's say if I make it that big, how long is my cup, right? So arm locked, 1, 2.5. So 1, 2, and a half. So it's about there. All right. So that's that. Sighting this angle. All right. And sighting this one. So a little bit more. So I compared this to the length. Now I'm going to compare this to this and see if it matches up. So I said that was about 1 and, yeah, about 3/4. So that's 1 and about 3/4. Yeah, so that looks good. And then remembering that these are ellipses. So if I view it from overhead, that's a circle. And then as it slowly turns, right, this is squishing so that it's still round. So I'm going to compare, and you can't see it, but I'm comparing like this measurement to the width. And for me, 1, 2, and about 2.5. 1, 2, a little bit bigger. So it's about there. And then this ellipse will be the same. Even though I can't see through the cup, that distance is the same. And this can be kind of the trickiest part, getting that curve right, that it's not too pointy, that this is still round, how quickly this turns. And then I not only have that ellipse, and if I start to get a little too much charcoal on there, can erase these lines. And then I have this second ellipse. Actually, there's 3 there. You know, again, edge of the cup, that little lip, this, and then the inset part. So there's actually 4 going across. Right now I'm just going to focus on those 2 big ones. All right, and then I can start thinking about those shapes, that shadow that I'm seeing. Again, having one light source, my light source is right here. So you can see that cast shadow, highlight, crest shadow, there's reflected light here. Okay, now the big difference is that I have my value scale that's going to be the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. So I will go from white to black, but this time the black of the paper will be my darkest value. So this is going to be white. So that's going to have the most pencil applied to it. So I'm going to start here very lightly. And then go back. Again, I'm holding the pencil farther back, changing the direction of my marks. Layering to create nice even values. Now, the difference between charcoal and pencil, charcoal is burnt wood that is then mixed with oils and either compressed, and it's compressed charcoal, which pencil is compressed charcoal. You can get compressed charcoal sticks that's very black. You can get what's called vine charcoal, that is just the burnt piece of wood, so it doesn't have those oils in it. But charcoal tends to be much smudgier, and because most of it has additional oils in it, you can smudge, and you're not going to make it look dirty or you know, so if you can use your finger, you can use like a rolled up piece of paper or a napkin. You know, to create more even values. The white doesn't tend to smudge as much as black charcoal, but, and then obviously, like, this is not burnt wood, it's just more white pastel, but it acts similar to charcoal. All right. And I can kind of squint and say like, okay, that's too big of a jump there. And then these are too similar, so I'm gonna make, yeah, and I might say that's too big. So if I go a little too far, I can lightly erase that layer. I also find having that paper underneath my hand so I'm not smudging where I don't want to. Trying to get it look as solid as possible, filling that square. And they, again, should be 7 distinct boxes. Looks pretty good. These two are looking a little too similar. I might take a little bit. You know, smudging also, whether it's with the eraser or my finger, will make the texture look a little bit different. As you can see how this and this look different than those. You know, so if you don't like that, you could erase more completely and then go back and kind of add a layer of pencil over it. That looks pretty good. I'm kind of happy with that. Now, so the trick when I'm starting to add value is that I have to think in reverse. So I'm going to erase these lines that I don't want. Right. So unlike before where I'm drawing the shadows, here I'm drawing those highlights. And so I have to leave out that little lip that's going to be black. So that highlight, that brightest highlight is kind of here. And then fades to black. And then I have this reflected light down here. And here I'm letting the pencil kind of go, the shading go the length of the cup. So one thing that can be helpful is because this cup is sitting on white paper, that I can be drawing this to allow this edge to kind of come forward in space. So I can do that a couple ways. I can kind of like I'm sort of carving out. Something else that can be helpful is using the edge of my blotter page as a guide to create a very sharp and that instantly kind of pushes that back in space. And I don't have to like fill in the whole page, but just something like that. You know, so this darkest part is going to be my shadow. And again, if this edge is kind of creeping over, I can take my paper, especially, you know, this stuff does smudge and, you know, it gets kind of chalky. So that creates a nice sharp edge. Now, a couple things about sharpening. I have a little hand sharpener, which works really nicely. Crank sharpeners tend to break off the tip with charcoal pencils because they're very fragile. So I don't go too pointy with this. You could also, if you have an X-Acto knife, you know, carefully carve away, oopsie, carve away the wood. These are made by General's Pencil Company out of New Jersey. So it's nice cedar wood. So it does cut nice and easily. So carefully cutting that and then just barely scraping the core to get a point that I want. because it is kind of brittle. You know, and that's helpful for small little details. Making my marks kind of travel the length of, you know, the table that it's sitting on. And you can see again how that makes this pop out. A little glow of light there, a little bit of reflected light there. So having, you know, a tiny little eraser for, you know, and I might erase more than I need and then go back in. Something like that. Let's see, like this far edge needs to be a little darker. And again, if something's too much, you can kind of take it back, but do be aware that the way that eraser is gonna smudge things will change the texture of things. If I smudge it with my finger, it's gonna change the texture, which you might like. You might like that smooth look, and so you may choose to smudge kind of over everything, or you may not like it, and you may want to be, you know, not smudging things. So that's that brightest white. Oops, I kind of killed that one little lip there. There we go. I'm gonna bring this. It is a thinner line. There we go. Let's give a funny transition right there. That. And then the last step is just to clean up any smudges, you know, like in this area. Especially any areas before they turn, you know, before you take a photo of it. Okay. And then this will just live right in here with our other one.